This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast about the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morris, and this week we are recapping a thrilling and emotional win for the football team last Saturday at Tufts. Plus, we preview the head of the Charles Regatta with rowing head coach Peter Steenstra. And our Athletics Hall of Fame interview series continues with the 2015 Bates women's rowing team, the first Bates team to win an NCAA championship. All that and more coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The Bates football team rallied from down a touchdown with two unanswered scores in the fourth quarter, prevailing 35-28 Saturday night at Tufts for their second win of the season. The 35 points the Bobcats scored are the most they've ever scored against Tufts in a single game, and the most they've scored in any game since 2013. Head coach Matt Coyne recaps an emotional thriller in Somerville. Coach, a big come-from-behind win, 35-28 over Tufts on Saturday at Tufts in front of a very big crowd and a lot of Bates fans, right? What was it like to play in front of such a supportive crowd on the road?
Yeah, I think as we talked about last week, what we wanted more than anything was to be able to go to someone else's place and play in a big environment and sort of play through some of those emotions from last weekend. And, we know we have a large alumni fan base out of Boston area, and for them to come support our boys and our team, it's unbelievable. Our sideline was packed. Their sideline was packed. It was their homecoming. You wouldn't want it any other way, as we talked about on the Bobcast last weekend. So for us, I just want to thank everybody for coming out, but it just created an environment that is, unbelievable to be able to play in. Gave us support, and, it was one of those games that we had the lead, tied. It was a shootout, and back and forth, and we made more plays, and we were a bit tougher in the end.
I was going to say, as a polar opposite of the Colby game. The Colby game was a defensive struggle. This was a shootout, 35-28. As a coach, what do you prefer, a defensive struggle or a shootout?
I prefer to have one more point than the other team.
Right,
in the game.
Exactly, yeah.
So whatever it is, but, you sort of get into ebbs and flows in games, and you can feel it. We know that they have, a good offense, a good offensive line, receivers. I know, we didn't know who their quarterback was going to be initially. And when Weidman was a starter, we knew they'd probably throw the ball a little bit more, but he ran it as well. But for us, this is what our offense is capable of. And styles make fights, as they say. So when you get into a game, you sort of feel it out in that first quarter, and you find out what you're going to have to do in the game. And we knew this was going to be one of those that was going to go back and forth. You just play to it, and you call your game to it, and you just need to stop when you need to stop, and then you need to score when you need to score.
Ryan Lynskey, of course, got the Gold Helmet Award from the New England Football Writers for the second time in his career. I'm sure you talked to him. He'll tell you it's all about the offensive line, and it did look like he had the best blocking in front of him all season. What do you notice from the big guys up front?
Yeah, I think, their preparation all week, we had we practiced really hard this week, and we did some things that we don't normally do, and we adjusted some things, we corrected some things, and we just got back to our physicality. You could see it. We were leaning on them the whole game. We were creating those gaps, and Lynskey ran unbelievably hard. And I think it's a combination of everything. Lynskey will tell you it's the O-line. The O-line will say it's nice to have four back there doing it. But it's also nice to see Jackie Morale come in and have 11 for almost 40 yards and really big runs on third down as well. And so it's really nice to have somebody to come in there and manage, the overall load as well. Collectively, receivers blocking, whole 9 yards. It was just a Bates football win.
I thought Lynskey's performance was interesting because it's 221 yards, which is a lot. His longest run was 31, which is a good-sized run. It was different from, his big game against Bowdoin last year because that game featured, some 60, 70-yard runs. This one, you look up and all of a sudden, oh, my gosh, he's over 200 yards. It was more very consistent, wasn't it, throughout the game?
Yeah, and that's what I mean by, we sort of leaned on him.
Yeah.
It was 5, 6, 8, 5, 6, 14, so that's when when you're in that position, it's don't take your foot off the gas, keep your hands on the wheel, and drive straight. You don't need to try to create things that aren't there. It's like, hey guys, we're blocking it up. Let's run the ball. We're in a good. We had a good thing going, good momentum going offensively, and the biggest thing was when I called the timeout there, with about a minute 11 left, I think it was 3rd and 1. The stuff I was hearing in that huddle coming from the team was exactly what we talked about we needed the week before. And it was guys talking in the huddle, hey, hands inside, ball security, let's get this yard, we're winning this game, and that's the stuff that, like, as a coach, you're like, man, like, it resonated. And now you're seeing it. And now when it comes to full fruition, now the players believe in it, and they understand how important those moments are. Because easily, as we talk about it more, it easily could have been one where you put your head down and you're like, oh, man, we had it, we missed an extra point. And that was last week. We grew from it. We learned from it, and we figured out how to win. And that's I'm so proud of them for that.
The game-winning touchdown run, I loved it. It was like a counter, right, up the middle. Take us through that play design. It was nice.
Yeah, so it really was outside. It was actually a mid-zone play. So okay. It was one that, Lynskey made a great cut, and it's something that we've practiced where, Tufts kept, going into this bare five-man front. They were creasing gaps. They were moving. They were trying to do anything they could to stop it, and they sliced through, and we washed a player, and Lynskey made one cut. They over-pursued, and, a safety trying to tackle him at the ankles is, 30-70 at best. So, he missed it, and put it in the end zone.
Excellent. And then I love the 2-point conversion also. That it looked like, that was just perfectly executed. We talk about execution all the time. It doesn't get better than that, does it?
Yeah, no, and I think, Coach Watcher's called a great game, I think, and it's his 5th game calling it up there, and he's gotten better, and learned from, each game. And, I think, it's really hard when you're up there in the seat and you're making those calls and stacking it up when, some things might not be working as a team that day, and that's what we practice, so we're having to go to plan B. But, you did a really good job last night of sticking to the game plan and also adjusting at halftime. And those plays that we actually ran in the second half, we didn't practice at all week. So they were adjustment-based plays, and he sort of set up that 2-point conversion with the touchdown run.
Yeah.
So it was the same set, same
right.
look. And, we made Jeff leaked out into the flat, and, we got it to a 7-point game.
Yeah, obviously you work directly with the quarterback. So, Jack Perry threw a touchdown pass early on to Matthew Holmes. And, the completion percentage wasn't quite there, but he did make some big plays down the field.
Yeah, there's some big plays. And really, when you're running the ball like that and you're able to create those openings, it's, hey, how do we, hit on some shots? And we just didn't, connect on a couple of shots. There were some things there. And, we'll clean that up this week from all ends. But there's a couple that were, right there to Jeff down the middle in the first drive of the second half that, and the one we throw in the beginning of the game, like going up and trying to make that catch. So, I think those guys, we're going to continue to take those shots. And for us, the biggest thing that I'm proud of JP is it's a tough defense. They show 5, they drop, they're doing all this stuff across the board. You don't know if they're in man or trap 2 or any of that stuff. You don't turn the ball over. And in a game like this, is like, I don't, take your shots when we call them. Let's trust our guys. But, when we don't turn the ball over, we're pretty successful, and that's the difference. And a couple of the throws, like the one that gets batted down on 3rd down, like it's wide open. He's making the right reads. He's in the right direction. And sometimes, we just got to, get that connection. And sometimes the defense makes a good play, and but he'll continue to grow and made some big throws in the game.
Well, we mentioned how it was a shootout, but I will say, obviously, the Bates defense made some huge plays in this game, starting with the interception by Samuel Christopher, where he just took the ball out of the guy's hands. What do you see from him on that play? That was awesome.
Yeah, Sammy's a dude, and he's, like I said, he's a sophomore that's playing higher. He's unbelievably competitive. That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. When you look at DBs, confidence and competitiveness are the 2 things that you have to understand. Like, guess what? You're going to get beat. And you look in the game, both of our corners got beat in press, but I'm proud of them for putting themselves in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Marquez, like, guess what? You're going to press, once in a while they're going to complete one over the top. He's in a good position. He's in a good phase. The kid made a play. Marquez fought through the hands, and the kid, hauled it in. Tip your hat, and guess what? I'm going to lock you up next time. That's how the mentality has to be. And, so for Sammy, he's unbelievably competitive. They have a short memory. Extremely proud of how all the DBs played, how all the defense played in those critical moments. Yeah, sure, did we have our busts in the beginning and things like that we have to clean up? 100%. But guess what? When it mattered and we needed a 3-and-out at the end of the game, they got it done, and then our offense got the ball back and we won.
And this was more of a special teams play, but obviously it turned the game, basically, on the punt, where the punt by Parker was high and short, and it worked perfectly because it hit an unsuspecting player in the leg, and Ryan Rozich, head on a swivel, Johnny on the spot, jumped on it. Is that like plan to try to like punt it like that to set up something like that possibly happening, or is that just pure luck and we're in right place, right time?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. Obviously, I always say it all the time. Like you need to get lucky. You know what I'm saying? In this game, like you need luck to bounce your way. And for us, we've not had a lot of luck recently. You know, so it was our turn to get a little bit of that. But what I will say first off is Ryan Rozich being able to just to come in and he's our that's our captain.
Right.
Dom goes down, boom, come in. There's not even a beat missed on our snapper. So. For us, really fortunate to have that kid stepping up into that role after he's playing all those snaps on defense and making all those tackles. But, what we did was it was a tough decision because we're on that 4th down 4. There's about 5 minutes left. We have all 3 timeouts. I was going back and forth whether we go for it or not. And I just felt that, in that 4th quarter, our defense was playing really well. And, and we didn't give up anything in the 4th quarter. So we made the decision. We got lucky. We get the ball back, and then we score,
So Rozich steps into the long snapper.
So Rozich came in.
Wow.
Dom hurt his hammy.
Yeah, I saw that.
So hopefully he's good to get better soon. But to have Ryan step into that role and just not miss a beat, it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. So obviously, the defense you mentioned played really well in the 4th quarter because after the missed extra point, you guys had to get a stop because Tufts had an opportunity to really run out the clock there, and the defense got a 3 and out. Tell us what you saw from the defense late in that game.
Yeah, I think there was just a calmness. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, we've been in these situations and time again as a program, like you just got to put yourself in situations over and over again where you're in the position to win the football game. And you have to learn from previous, mistakes, learn from previous situations. And they got it done. They locked it up. They played really sound defense. And to get that 3 and out at like that, boom, 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 after such a pivotal play. It sort of reminded me of the our first possession of offense against Amherst in overtime. Didn't go the right way. Our defense comes out, gets a 3 and out right away and force a long field goal. So for us, I think it was really important, and I think it also, what they don't realize is it provides momentum for the offense, right, when you get that 3 and out.
So obviously it was an emotional week. People inside the football program kind of, a lot of stuff going on. Major and Michael Spencer were playing in an emotional time. We don't have to go into details, but Major Spencer to get that interception, what a moment, right?
Yeah, it's out of body. It's, it's just one of those things. Those kids are so tough, and obviously with Mike, he's a special kid for me, as they all are. But he was in part of the beginning, that beginning class, and they went through a lot. And I just, he's a really, and then meeting his brother and getting him up here, I just think it's just so special for them two to have each other and to have this football family. Our team really rallied around them. They're going through a really tough personal thing that, everybody, doesn't know how to handle until you're in it. So for them to be able to do that and to show up too for our guys, I think that's so special, so powerful. I'm so proud of them. And they're going to be better men for it, and they're going to grow through this, and they're going to have all of us there to support them throughout this time. But it was pretty special. I mean, if, I don't, get into it, but it makes you think there's something out there, what I'm saying, like when it ends like that. So it was just, apropos, fitting, and emotional, and just so happy for our entire team, and so it's just so happy for everybody involved.
And what's it say about, the players to, rally around them like this?
I was talking to one of my mentors, this morning actually, and it just shows where your culture's at. You know what I'm saying? Because, Saturday we have a morning meeting, and they're not there because they've been going through some things throughout the entire night, and you give the team a little bit of it, and you think most of the team probably already knows based off of how close they are and how they who they were talking with, and nobody points fingers. They just sat there and said, like, we got this one for 5 and 12. You know what I'm saying? So I was just really proud. You're just happy with where the culture's at. Happy with coaching these kids, and I said it again. I think I have the best job in the world because this team. I love this team, and to see them come back and just win that game down there. When guess what? Nobody but us thought we were going to win that game. Let's get it straight right now. Everybody writes us off. They see the record of 1 and 3. They don't see the brand of what we've done. And now we've got an opportunity to stack it on with another great team. But that's a big program win, and that shows me that this team's got a really good chance going forward.
And you bring up another great team. You're hosting Williams this Saturday. They're 4-1. A very close game last year with them. What do you know about the Eves?
Very physical. They run the ball a lot of different sets. They're big up front. The quarterback's playing lights out this year. He's a kid that runs around, can throw the ball as well too. Well coached. I have a ton of respect for Coach Raymond. Very close friend of mine in the profession. But they've done a really good job all year. Had one tough loss in overtime with Trinity. But now we get to, it's a great challenge, great opportunity, man. I'm excited. Like, we can't wait to get back to work. We said it again. I say it every week. Win or lose, you get back to work and you try to prepare and win the next one. So it's a great opportunity. You want to have these guys come up here and you want to, test your grit and resolve. And now you come off of a big emotional win. And now the next challenge is, can we follow it up against the team in first place right now, and really, come out with a W.
They have a lot of rushing yards, like an odd amount.
Yeah,
actually, like what is that?
So they're doing a ton of stuff, just very similar to where we were. When we were running it, we throw it a little bit more now, but it's like they're running it very similar offenses, physical. It's going to be a war. It's going to be a war in the trenches on Saturday, and that's Bates football and that's Williams football with their brand. So it's two brands going against each other, and we're excited to compete at it. So yeah, they run the quarterback. They got two really good running backs, two good tight ends, big receivers that they get you to try to match up one-on-one on. So we're going to have to win our one-on-ones. We're going to have to compete and really grind it out. It's going to be who can be more physical throughout the four quarters. That's the bottom line.
All right, Matt Coyne, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Junior captain running back Ryan Lynskey had a huge game, carrying the ball a career-high 32 times for 221 yards and a career-high 4 touchdowns. The awards came in fast and furious after the game, starting on Sunday when he earned the Gold Helmet Award from the New England Football Writers for the best performance by a Division II or Division III football player in the region this week. And then he was named the NESCAC Offensive Player of the Week on Monday, and on Tuesday he was named to the D3Football.com Team of the Week. So it only makes sense that Ryan Lynskey is our male Bobcat of the Week. Tell me about what you were seeing out there all night against the Jumbos.
I saw a lot of big holes, to say the least. We did a lot of two-back sets where Jack Morrell was in the game with us. So I saw him leading through and Damian DiGiovanni kicking a lot of guys out for me. And the offensive line was doing a great job handling up their D-line and then getting up to the backers. So just saw a lot of green grass.
And in particular, your game-winning touchdown run, just right up the gut of that play. When did you realize, I'm going to score here?
I think I realized once that guy missed that tackle on my side. That play actually is more of an outside zone, but I saw that everyone was flowing and it opened up, so I just put my foot in the ground and got upfield, and there was just that backside safety flowing, so I did my best to high leg it, and thankfully he missed, and I pulled my foot through, and then I knew that I was going to score.
You've been getting the ball a lot this year, but this was actually the most carries you've ever had in one game. How are you feeling afterwards?
I was feeling a little beat up. I do feel like because the carries were distributed a little bit more throughout the game, it didn't feel like a career high in carries. It did Sunday morning when I woke up, but I mean, it was a great time. I loved playing in that game and getting the ball as much as I did.
Yeah, it was a high-scoring game. It was the most points Bates scored in one game in 12 years. And so what's it like to play in a shootout like that?
It was really nice. Normally, that's not the type of games we're in. And even the games that we've won while I've been here, they've been lower scoring. So it was nice to see the offense flourish and be able to help out the defense like they've been doing for us so far this year.
So as one of the team captains, I mean, the team, a couple big wins this year. I'm talking about stacking wins on top of wins, right? What's going to be the key to building off this momentum, you think?
I think the key is just going back to work and having a great week of practice. Last week, we had a really good week. We focused on the details. Our coaches made sure that if we weren't doing something correct, that we did it until we got it correct. So I think just coming in, working extremely hard, focusing on film, and thankfully it's break for us this week, so we have some extra time to focus on football, and we're just very excited for Williams.
The fans were loud for Bates at Tufts. What's it like to have that support?
It's amazing. I really think that we have the best fan base in the NESCAC. They travel everywhere, and it did feel like a home game when we were in Tufts, and it was their alumni weekend. So it's great to see so many old players who I played with and all of our families there supporting us. It really means a lot.
So after you had a big season last year, 1,000-yard season, what are some things you've been working on this year to build off that success? What's the key for you personally to kind of take your game to the next level, you think?
I think just focusing on my details. I feel like when I'm making the right decisions and I'm executing, that I'm one of the best players, if not the best player in this league. So I think just making sure that I'm being consistent and not allowing myself to try to make the big play too much and cut outside and get away from my fundamentals, and just keying in on those and trusting the rest of the players around me to open up holes.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is there were no negative runs at all for you in this game. So what's the key to hitting that hole quickly?
I think the two-back set helped a lot because Jack Morrell was clearing up anyone who could have potentially got through. And the offensive line just did such a great job taking care of that first level. And then once I saw a gap, I just tried my best to burst through it.
Now, it's been an emotional week, right, for the football program as a whole. I mean, how you guys kind of stuck together and supported your teammates?
Yeah, so throughout the entire week, it was a regular week of practice until we found out the news about Mike and Major's dad. And since then, we just pretty much tried to be there for them as much as we could, and we knew that this Saturday it was more than just a football game, and that we had to get this one for them and for the team as a whole. So I think just supporting them and being there for them when they needed someone to talk to about it, and just making plays on Saturdays is what we did.
And for them to play how they did was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely crazy. I don't know how I would have been able to work through it, and they didn't even show it throughout the game. They just made plays as if everything was normal. So those two guys, they're such pivotal people for our team, and we just hope that they're doing well now.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, as a captain, how do you work on your leadership in a moment like this, kind of?
I'm very close with Mike and Major, so that definitely helps with it. They're some of my best friends in my life, so I just tried to be there for them and kind of just be an ear to listen to. It's very tough. So that was my first situation, kind of dealing with a type of loss with somebody who I knew. So I just tried to be there for them and tell them that what they're doing tonight is going to make their father proud, and that they're built for this. That if anyone can work through it, it's them.
Great. And then, I mean, your thoughts on this week and building up and preparing for Williams. What do you think is the key to victory this week?
I think the key is physicality. Williams is a great team. They're 4-1. They like to run the football. So do we. So I really think that it's just going to be a war on Saturday. I think both teams are aware of that. So it's coming in and setting the tone and being the physical ones on the field and the hammer, not the nail.
Yeah, they really run the ball a lot. I mean, so does Bates. I mean, Matt was joking the game might last 90 minutes. What are your thoughts on similar styles, sort of? Right?
I kind of like it. I feel like we are the two best rushing teams in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great test for us. We definitely think that we're the best, and so do they. So I think we're just very excited for Saturday. And it might be a quick game with the running clock.
You've brought up Jack Morale, senior, right? He's
yes.
a senior and you're a junior. So how do you two work together? I mean, he got a lot of carries in that game too, right?
Yeah, he's such a great teammate. He does everything right. So I think our biggest thing, I've known him now for 3 years, and he's been in the room, and he's just always done everything right. Works extremely hard, is very detailed, is a team guy. And I think that we just work to make each other better and support each other in throughout the game and off the field, and it just works really well.
After you guys got the touchdown, after Rozich was able to recover that fumble, extra point unfortunately got blocked, but it seems like the team did not let that get them down. What was the attitude kind of going back out there on the field?
Our attitude was that the defense is going to get a stop and we're going to get the ball back and go score. And I think that shows some of the development of the team. I think a few years ago or even potentially earlier in this season, if that happens, morale goes down. People are kind of like worrying about what's going to happen. But we trusted our teammates, and I think that's the biggest thing, having the trust that your defense is going to get the stop and having the trust that the offense is going to go put the ball in the end zone.
Great. Well, any other thoughts you wanted to share, first of all, on, once again, getting the trifecta of gold helmets, D3Football.com Team of the Week, and NESCAC Offensive Player of the Week, at this time after a win, which is nice, right?
Yeah, it definitely was nice to get it after a win. That was a good switch up. Yeah. Could appreciate it, celebrate it a little more. I just would like to say thank you to everyone blocking for me. There's such great holes opening up on Saturday night, and it's really all them and I just get the glory from it.
All right, Ryan Lynskey is second career highest rushing total. Career high 4 touchdowns. Bobcats winners at Tufts. Our male Bobcat of the Week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Junior captain Ryan Rozich led all players with 12 total tackles on Saturday, but it was in an unfamiliar role where he made perhaps his biggest impact. Rozich stepped in at long snapper in the middle of the game due to an injury, and Bates did not miss a beat. On top of that, he recovered a muffed punt by Tufts deep in jumbo territory with 5 minutes remaining in the game, setting up Lynskey for yet another rushing touchdown. That huge play on special teams sparked the comeback for the Bobcats, and Rozich was named the NESCAC Special Teams Player of the Week for his efforts. Rozich also joined Lynskey and junior safety Michael Spencer on the D3Football.com Team of the Week. Well, this is a little different. You're the NESCAC Special Teams Player of the Week. Ryan Rozich with us here on the Bobcast, inside linebacker for the Bobcats, but you had to step in at long snapper this weekend. You hadn't been a long snapper since high school, so when the coaches were like, hey, we need a long snapper, they went right to you. How'd that kind of go?
Definitely. So over the last 2 years, I've been getting some long snapping reps in practice, and I think that just gets back to the point that you never know when your number is going to be called at a certain point. And Dominic Varelli, our long snapper, I mean, that dude, he's been phenomenal the past 3 years. He's been the most consistent dude on our team. He's been perfect with punts and PATs. And I think just going into practice and taking these reps and thinking about the chance that I could be in a game and making the most of these reps that helped me on Saturday come into that role and have to pick our teammate up, Dom, when he went down, and go into there with confidence and knew that I am able to do this. So definitely.
So you've been taking these reps in practice?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't like completely out of the blue.
No, not completely out of the blue.
Yeah.
So every week, before practice, we take snaps. So definitely it just gets back to that point that you never know when your number is going to be called, and you gotta prepare in practice like you're going to play in the game.
Excellent. Well, it was a game-changing play on the punt where it hit a Tufts jumbo in the leg, and you were Johnny on the spot there to jump on it. Take us through what you saw on that play, because it really only grazed him. That was pretty heads up.
Definitely. So snapped the ball, ran down, and the entire game. So that was my third pump, and I was just waiting in front of the receiver every single time, waiting for, that little mistake that we needed to capitalize. We were late in the game. I think there was about 6 minutes left. And when the returners started calling out poison, I tried to look around, see, and saw the ball hit the ground, grazed his foot, like you said, and it kind of just popped there right in front of me. So I was fortunate and just able to get down on the ball and give our offense the ball at the 10-yard line to go and get another touchdown.
Now, when you say yelling out poison, for those who don't know the lingo for football, what does that mean?
Yeah, poison means for the returning team, for all of their teammates in the area to get away from the football, so you can avoid in this instance of the ball bouncing off of, for say, your leg and it becoming a live ball.
And so you actually saw the ball hit the guy's leg?
Definitely. Yep.
Okay.
I saw it. The ball took a different direction off of the player's foot, and I was able to capitalize on it.
Excellent. And then, all year, you and Carmel Crunk have been the top two tacklers in the NESCAC at linebacker. Tell us about that relationship between you two guys at linebacker.
Definitely. I mean, Carmel's really stepped up as one of those dudes for us this year. He's been, truly phenomenal. And I love playing with that dude and next to that dude. I mean, he's just motivating. He always brings the energy, and his energy is infectious and contagious with the whole team. So playing next to that dude, it pushes me to be better, pushes me to be great. And along with everyone else in the room, he's really stepped up, and I'm super proud of him. And he's a great player now, and I know he is going to become an even better player. And
so for the defense, you guys needed to get a couple of big stops late in the game. First, when the offense got to within one, the PAT did end up getting blocked, but so you guys need to get a big stop, and you did a 3-and-out. Take us through that drive and how you guys were able to, I guess, kind of focus, because it might have been a little deflating, right, to have the PAT block, but you guys were able to go out there and get an immediate stop.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was going to be deflating. Either way, we knew that regardless of if we got that PAT,
right,
we were going to need to get a stop and give our offense the chance to go down there and score a touchdown like they did and win the game. But, I mean, I think that's just it's been the focus all year with our defense. It's, we're going to go out there, we're going to get a stop, we're going to be a more physical team, we're going to physically dominate you, and just keep giving our offense chances to do what they did. And as we saw on Saturday, they did phenomenal. And when we give them these opportunities to go down and win the game, they're going to capitalize. And we know our guys, and we know they can do that.
Yeah, so we have 3 players this week on the D3Football.com Team of the Week. Ryan Lynskey, who is obviously,
of course,
what a game for him. Yourself as long snapper, and then also Michael Spencer at safety, who had 3 pass breakups, a bunch of tackles. He and his twin brother, Major Spencer, have been the 2 safeties all year. Major had the game-clinching interception. These two, I mean, what do they mean to this team?
They're brothers, just like everyone else on this team, and we know they're going through something right now that's truly undescribable, and no one can sense the pain that they're in right now and they're feeling. And that's why it's important as their 80 brothers around them, that we need to pick them up. We need to make these dudes feel, that they're a part of this family, and of course they are. And, I mean, that win on Saturday, that was just something truly special, and you don't see stories like that. That's just what that win meant for us and meant for those 2 dudes, especially with having phenomenal games like they did, and Major with that game-sealing interception. I mean, you truly can't write it up better. And I'm so proud of those 2 dudes. And, as we keep moving forward, just trying to keep them in our thoughts and, those are our two brothers. Those are our family. So we're gonna pick them up when they're down.
Absolutely. It seems like the team is very close this year, maybe even more so than in previous years. I'm not sure, but I mean, how does this team feel as a unit, sort of?
I mean, it's just getting back to that point in the brotherhood. I mean, you look around and you have 80 brothers, no matter who they are, what position they are. That's truly our family. And in the case with Major and Mike, that could be anyone on the team. These are our brothers. We're going to pick them up when they're down, and we are truly one family.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, looking at that game, I mean, just the atmosphere in general, it seemed like there were a ton of Bates fans there. What's that like? You're on the road, but you have so much support.
Totally. Honestly, I feel like that's every game. I mean, the parents, families, alumni, I feel like we travel so well. I mean, there's truly nothing better than going and seeing the size of our tailgate and the energy that everyone's bringing. And I mean, that truly just that helps us on the field and helps us really to dominate the game and to know that we have this large supporting group behind us. And when you look over at the away side where all the Bates fans are sitting, and it's just as packed as the Tufts sideline. I mean, that's something that's truly special, and we know that regardless of whatever atmosphere we're going into, we have all of those people behind our backs and pushing us forward.
I was talking with Coach Coyne about this, but like the last two games have been very different games. Like the Colby game was a defensive struggle, and this game was a little bit more of a shootout. I mean, there was a fair amount of scoring. So from your perspective as a linebacker, what's that like in terms of playing those two different types of games almost, right?
It's just like I was saying earlier, when someone's down, the other's going to pick us up. So, last week it was the defense. We had a great game. We were really pushing the opposing team. And, this week when we let a couple plays let up a couple explosive plays for touchdowns, our offense came right back out there, picked us up, and kept us in that position to win the game. And that plays in tandem. We get a stop for our offense, they go down there and score. It's all about just picking up your brother and being there and just doing your role on the team. We always talk about doing your 1/11th when the opportunity is presented. You need to just overcome, and you need to be successful in your singular role. So I think that's just a huge component of our team, and it's just picking guys up. And when your time's called, you need to go out there and you need to make the play.
Do you have to go up against Lynskey in practice, or is that do the ones not go against the ones? Or?
Yeah, no. In camp, in camp is when we go against the ones. So I mean, that was great. Those first 2 weeks going up against our O line, going up against Lynskey, because if you can tackle Lynskey, man, you'll be good with anyone else in the league. So I mean, those 2 weeks in camp, those are awesome with us competing. With the O line, the receivers, the running back, quarterbacks. I mean, there's nothing better than the internal competition that we had between the offense and the defense, and that helps to foster the success that we're having right now on both sides of the ball.
So I know Williams likes to run the ball.
Definitely.
They're up next. What are your thoughts on this game?
Obviously, so our goal now is to be 1-0 this week. So this is going to be a big game, and this is a big opportunity for our program to take that next step and to stack two important wins. And so looking at it from a defense perspective, we know 12 personnel team, they're going to try to pound the ball, and we're going to show up and we're going to stop them. So I'm very excited, looking forward to this, and I know the entire defense, the entire team, we're looking to go out there and have just a physical battle with these dudes and impose our will.
Yeah, based on how much they run the ball, you average 12 tackles per game. You might have a few more than that in this one. We'll see. Ryan Rozich, our NESCAC Special Teams Player of the Week. Hopefully, Dom will be back.
Definitely.
And you don't have to do that again, but what a job. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
The field hockey and soccer teams fell short at Tufts on Saturday, but they'll get a chance to bounce back at home this Saturday against Connecticut College as the teams celebrate Senior Day. Meanwhile, the volleyball team split a pair of NESCAC matches over the weekend, falling to Connecticut College on Friday before bouncing back to beat Trinity 3-1 on Saturday. Sophomore Malina Young recorded a double-double against the Bantams, tallying a season-high 10 kills and a career-high 15 digs. And Malina Young is our female Bobcat of the Week. Well, Malina, first of all, you're from California, so take us back growing up. I know volleyball is huge in California, but how did you first start playing the sport? What made you fall in love with it?
Yeah, California has a lot of volleyball, a lot of beach volleyball, a lot of great volleyball, so it's super competitive. I joined in middle school, just did a bunch of clinics that were provided through the high school, and then I started to get into it. It it's a big sport, super competitive, and I just loved how big it was and how competitive it was in California.
I know you mentioned beach volleyball. Were you more beach, more indoors? How did that kind of go?
Definitely more indoor. I loved beach. I played for my high school, but I really loved the pace of indoor and the team aspect of it for sure.
Great. So when you were looking for colleges, what put Bates on your radar all the way out here in Maine?
Well, I definitely wanted to compete in the NESCAC. I liked the thought of a small liberal arts school, and at the D3 level, my brother went to Bowdoin, so I knew about the NESCACs there. So Bates I really enjoyed the community, the coaches, the girls, so I love Bates so far. So it's great.
Last year is the first year. You got some playing time. What was maybe the biggest adjustment coming to college on the volleyball court compared to, high school and club?
In college, the pace is definitely a lot faster. You're with new girls that have played with each other for already 2 years already. So I'm definitely adjusting to that. Like, it's really important, the team chemistry on the court and like who you're playing next to and who you're passing next to. So that was definitely the biggest adjustment. And then the pace, obviously, in the college sport.
And most recently, a win over Trinity. You had a double-double. So you had a season-high 10 kills and a career-high 15 digs. I've noticed you're getting a lot of digs this year. You're second on the team in digs percent. So tell me a little bit about the key to getting a lot of digs for you as an outside hitter.
Definitely working around the block. I think the blockers have done a great job setting the block up so it's easier for our defenders to play defense and kind of sit in those seams, which is nice. But definitely Carissa and Sachio have definitely prepared us for playing defense and like making sure we're on our toes and ready to push forward and reading those through the block and then reading the hitters as well.
Yeah, how do you go about trying to read the hitters? That must be a little tricky, I imagine.
Well, Beach has helped me so far a lot with that, but also just using the scout, knowing what their tendencies are, and then just being ready to move, staying stopped, and kind of anticipating before.
Great. And then from an offensive perspective, I mentioned the season-high 10 kills. So what was really clicking there on Saturday for you?
I think we got a lot of good one-on-ones when we were in system. The setters did a great job, feeding the middle and getting good passes there so we could run the middle and then have a pretty spread offense. And then our out-of-system was great. Ellie put up some really good sets for us to score on those important moments.
Great. And then you mentioned Carissa, new head coach this year, Carissa Bradford. Tell us about her. What's it been like?
She's great. She's also from Southern California, which is nice to have a girl from California as well. But she's great. She's really prepared us throughout all the games. I think she's been doing a great job working with us, knowing our tendencies, and like helping us through that.
For you, this team, this group, what's the group like? What's this year's version of the Bates volleyball team like as a group, the players?
All the players are definitely very intelligent, very supportive girls. I think we work really well with each other. We have a great communication style, which I really appreciate. All the seniors have done a great job in using their leadership skills and guiding us underclassmen through new coaching, new everything. I think they've done a really great job with that.
Do you have any goals kind of in your mind moving forward here as we move along in this season?
To have fun and play with these seniors for their last season, but also win some more games for sure.
Yeah, a couple of NESCAC wins this year. What progress have you kind of seen the team make as the season has gone along?
I think we've just adjusted to moving forward after losses. I know it's been a motivator for us at practice, and being able to grind during and after a loss is super important for us, and having our mind set on the next game. I think we've done a really good job of that.
Have you always been a hitter, outside hitter?
Yeah, I've always been an outside hitter.
Why that position for you?
I love to score. It's nice to get some points on the board, but it's definitely, I don't know, it's a fun position. Outside, so you get to pass, play defense, and swing. So it's a great all-around position.
Excellent. Malina Young, our female Bobcat of the week, a double-double against Trinity as the Bobcats picked up their second NESCAC win of the year there on Saturday. And Bates is back in action this weekend. They are at Bowdoin Friday at 6 o'clock, at Colby Saturday at 2 o'clock, so right here in state. Back home for senior night, the 22nd of October, a Wednesday, 6 p.m. against Fisher. Malina, thank you so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
The Bates rowing teams head to Boston this Sunday to compete in the world-famous Head of the Charles Regatta. Head coach Peter Steenstra gives us a preview. Coach, first of all, before we talk about the Head of the Charles, you and the 2015 women's rowing team were inducted into the Bates Athletics Hall of Fame a few weeks ago. Tell us about that experience.
Well, thank you, but it was them, not me. But I certainly was there in my Henley jacket, trying to look the part for them. But it was a great experience. All of you guys that put that event on, it went really, really well. It was wonderful. So I think the team appreciated it. The alums that came back really appreciated that, and no group is more worthy of that recognition than that group from 2015.
And I know the current rowers got to meet them, right, and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Spent a couple days with them, really. But
Yeah.
it was good.
Valuable experience.
Yeah, I mean, to say the least. But when you have people like gold medalist Andrew Burns coming back,
Right.
Olympic gold medalist, and just having a chance to sit and chat with the kids, and as I understand it, he might have visited one of the off-campus houses that afternoon or that early evening, I think. So that was a special thing for them. And of course, on the 2015 group, having Jenna Armstrong come back, who is an internationally successful athlete on her own right, over there with Cambridge. That was just a real treat to have them, and it helps to show everyone currently on the team that there's places to go after here, and it's not just Olympics is the only next goal. To know that you can go to England and actually spend another 3 or 4 or 5 years training and racing and having a great time, then I think that's a valuable thing for them to learn.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about this year's team. You've been obviously training for a little bit. What are your thoughts on the Charles coming up? Tell us how many boats you have going there. What are your expectations?
So we have an 8 and a 4 on the men's side, 2 8s and a 4 on the women's side. And the roster on the men's side is the big one this year. So there's been quite a bit of competition for the 4 in particular. We made the 8 rather early. I think that the 8 guys that are in the boat, it sort of revealed themselves pretty early in the process. So that was good. And it was actually quite difficult for Coach Fitz, to get that other group narrowed down to just 4 guys. Because when you're making a 4, it has a lot more to do than just who are the 4 strongest or who are the 4 best oarsmen, because it comes down to the combination that is in the boat. And you can have someone who's quite strong or quite fit, and then all of a sudden not fit into the boat, and it causes some sort of imbalance within. So we've got a good couple of crews going. Pretty excited about that. I know that the varsity 8 is really dialed in. Very excited about what their chances look like, and they're hoping for a top 10 finish. I think that's what they want to do. Tough place to do when you're starting about 23, because they're going to have a lot of traffic to work through, and you got to have a little luck with the Charles. But I think they'll do well. The women's side, we've spent a good amount of time just figuring out what that V16 looks like. We've got that narrowed down. And we've been going back and forth with a few different lineups, trying to figure out the best combination for a group. Because it is 4,700 2 meters long, and they've got to be able to do that at a 34 strokes per minute, which is quite difficult. That's what we race our 2Ks at, is somewhere between 34 and 36. So that's become the standard for everyone, is racing that course at a very high rating. But I think we've got a good group. The one thing I can tell you is that the JV8, or those that have become the JV8, have really upped their game quite a bit. They've made some significant improvements with a couple first years in the group, a couple seniors that have landed in that spot. So you got the leadership built in, you got this youthful energy built in, and I'm pretty excited to see what that group can do there.
Yeah, last year, obviously, the team coming off, the NCAA appearance, pretty strong showing at NCAAs for the women's rowing team. Looking to build off that momentum, right? I mean, a lot of returners, it looks like. Is that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, quite a bit.
yeah. So, I mean, tell me about that leadership and that experience the group. That obviously makes a big impact, doesn't it?
Yeah, we've got 3 captains on the women's side: Olivia Smith, Isabel Martin, and Meryl Doherty. They are all seniors, and each one of them individually is generally kind of a quiet person, but the 3 of them together are working quite hard as captains. I think it's taken them a bit in order to find their footing within that role, but with some good conversations with me and Greta, our new assistant coach on the women's side, but also with their fellow classmates. So when you consider that we have a number of juniors abroad on the women's side. We only have a total of 8 juniors and seniors on the roster.
Okay.
So there's not a lot. We've got, I think it's 20-ish, 21 or 22 freshmen and sophomores. So even though it's still a good-sized group, it's really leaning heavy on the younger side. So those 3 captains have worked with their upperclassmen, or begun to, in order to create a larger leadership dynamic within the program.
And so a lot of women are abroad, or a lot of men abroad also, or?
Yeah, we have a few. I don't remember the exact.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 8 or 10 or so.
Gotcha. Who are the captains on the men's side?
The men's side is Luke Desmaisons, Kelly McKegg, and then Schmies.
Yep.
Micah Schmizu.
Yep.
There you go. I got it. Yeah.
And what are their leadership like?
I think that they are 3 very distinctly different captains. Luke is going to be, or continues to be, the more vocal. He's the real stand-up leader. He's the one that is going to get everyone's attention when it's necessary. I think McKegg is, he's. I wouldn't want to call him the fun one, but I think that he could fall in that category. He's the guy that's going to sort of take the time to explain something to the individual that doesn't understand why this demand has come down from the top, and that sort of thing. I think he's able to talk to some people on the side and help them to understand what's going on. And Micah Schmizu, he's the coxswain of the 4. He's the second coxswain in the boathouse on the men's side. And I think he just has a very, very silent way of looking at someone and them understanding that he's in charge and they're going to just do what he says.
We have 3 assistants actually this year, 2 new full-timers, Greta O'Hara, Hannah Fitz. Of course, Hannah Fitz, a very familiar name, women's rowing All-American, 3-time national champion, would have been a 4-time national champion probably if not for the pandemic. Coaching, though, on the men's side, tell me about I know her experience. She has been coaching men previously. Tell us about her experience, now coming to Bates as a coach.
Yeah, well, she's been at Dartmouth with the lightweights for a bit.
Yeah.
And before that, she was with the Dartmouth women. So she has a lot of good experience at various levels of coaching. But there's no question that she has the energy. She has the resume, to work with the men's team. The guys respected her the moment she arrived. There wasn't a question about it. She's not going to hold back. She has a good stand on her own 2 feet style about her, and she will speak very directly to them, which is what they need most of the time. But she also is an easy person for them to talk to as well. I think every now and then they think that they're speaking to the more feminine side of the Fitz, but really the reality is she's pretty quick to remind them that, okay, I'm your coach, so let's make sure that we're speaking in these certain terms. That is, I'm going to coach you, and I'm going to tell you the thing you don't want to hear, not just here to coddle you and make you feel better.
And how about our new women's assistant coach, Greta O'Hara? Tell us about her.
Yeah, Greta's great. She came to us from GW. She was only there for a year. I think the D1 thing ended up not being quite what she was hoping it might be. Before that, getting a master's at Smith College in coaching and everything. And she's bringing with her a great deal of experience that I think the women's side in particular will really benefit from. She has a great understanding of the big picture of what it is to be an athlete at not just at the collegiate level, but at a school that fits this design, what Bates is. Kind of all hands are involved, and we know every single piece of your world in a lot of ways. We're able to communicate with various branches of the campus community, and I think Greta's really designed for that, so she's doing a good job.
And you have another alum back as a volunteer, is that right?
Yeah, Aisling Ryan, who recently got married and moved back this way. She's now a nurse practitioner. Yep, so pretty excited to have her back. She's in the area and wanted to help out, so it's huge for us to have a 4th person out there, 4th safety boat, and it's really helpful. Tell us about the head of the Charles Regatta in general. Stressful event, sort of, because it's a lot going on. It's stressful because it's all of the worlds combined into one. So I have to get there on Friday just to get the trailer in.
Right.
If I'm not there Friday, the trailer can't be parked there.
Yeah.
So we have to get it there.
Yeah.
All day Saturday is like the youth and junior competitions are happening. So at the end of their racing, those kids are wandering the boatyard looking for all the coaches. And so that's why Greta and Fitz will have to be down there on Saturday because they got to be able to chat with people that are just going to swing by the truck. So we have all the alums. And then after that, the alums as well, but we have all the recruits after us. Then after that, on race day, we have, 75 parents are there, which is great. We want to be able to see all of these groups and spend time and chat with them. But it does feel like you're really drinking from the fire hose for the whole 3 days that we're there. So, but it is what it is. It's a great festival of rowing, and as difficult and as tiring as it is for us, and the manufacturing world of all rowing things, there's nothing quite like it, and it's a great experience for the athletes.
And a chance for the coxswains, it's their race, kind of, right?
Yep. Yeah. In fact, because of the new developments in GPS and how they can track everyone, not that there's anything official, but I know that the coxswains are on the interwebs there talking about who can make the race course the shortest. It's all about getting that. Can you get fewer than 47.02 for total meters on the course?
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense though, right? The expression we use is try to put the course on a rope, which means just make it straight, as straight as you can. So if you're able to do that and you can get the overall distance that you sent your crew down below 4,700, then you are more than doing your own weight in work, right?
So you look at the fall schedule, you had the Heather Charles, and you added a fall regatta against Dartmouth and Columbia lightweights for the men, and Dartmouth and Radcliffe, which is Harvard, lightweights for the women. This is new. This is different. That's November 1st. Tell us about how this developed.
So this came about, and I'll explain that there's actually a change on the women's side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll be going to Wellesley instead of racing Dartmouth. That's just because Dartmouth had to make a decision about going to Princeton for the Princeton Chase. So they're the ones that kind of backed out on it.
Okay.
But, yeah. By the way, I'll send that to you in a little bit.
Sounds good.
But because of counting days now, we want to be able to use every single one of our days that we can use for all training and all competition. Because of our typical spring, I don't have the ability to race a whole lot earlier. The crews just aren't prepared. It's not fair to them in a lot of ways. So when you look at that, and then you look at the way the calendar was really odd this year, we can't start in February for a whole nother week than we would have a year ago. So that means I can't even use the first 4 or 5 days of the 114 or 119 that I get. So we had to use them someplace. And so we decided to try to tack on the end of the fall, take advantage of what's always beautiful weather in the fall. The thing at Dartmouth opened up for the guys and the lightweight crew, obviously with the help of Hannah Fitz's relationship with that group.
Yeah.
That allowed us to kind of get the invite for that and just put the guys up against them. And then it just became a matter of let's find something for the women as well. And initially it was something with Dartmouth, but like I said, they had to change their schedule. So we had a few other people that were interested in actually coming up here, but then it became difficult for them to find transportation because all the buses are taken up by football teams and fall foliage followers from cruise ships and things. So anyway, we're heading down to Wellesley on November 1st, and we'll get some pieces done with them, and it's going to be great.
Well, and Wellesley is a pretty good, D3 program. They had a decent year last year, but they've been national champions before, so that should be a good indicator. A good matchup, right? I suppose, right?
It should be a good matchup. They are 6/8 deep now in the fall, so they've got a huge roster, and it's great for us to race anything that we can at this point.
Excellent. Well, any other thoughts you wanted to share on the Heather Charles coming up or the team this year we haven't got to talk about?
No, I'm just very happy and about the program. I want to send out a congratulations to the entire Bates rowing family for 40 years of rowing here at Bates, which we had a great event after the Hall of Fame. we had a number of wonderful folks that showed up. So having some alums and having some parents, even the parents of the alums were there. So it was a great event, and we had 6 folks that spoke between Kristen Anderson from the class of 2000, Andrew Burns, 05. We had Wynn Brown speak from the class of 89, and then we even had Hannah Fitz speak from the class of 20, and then Luke Demaison also spoke. Oh, no, and Jenna Armstrong too from class of 15. So we really bridged all of the decades in that, and it was a wonderful event and beautiful day. So it was just great to do that and put that milestone in, because it's kind of a practice for the 50th. So everyone can look forward to that 10 years from now.
Yeah, 40 years ago, of course, Bates rowing was a club sport here and became varsity around the turn of the century. Yeah. And, of course, first national championship in 2015, which was just honored at the Hall of Fame. Peter Steenstra, thanks so much. Looking forward to the Head of the Charles this Sunday.
Yeah, thanks.
All fall, we are conducting interviews with members of the Bates Athletics Hall of Fame, newly established this year. 2015 women's rowing team, the college's first team to win an NCAA championship, was one of 10 inductees earlier this month. As part of our Hall of Fame interview series, we're joined this episode by 2015 team captain Jenna Armstrong to look back on that championship season.
The ceremony was phenomenal. I thought it was really, really well executed, and it was just a really lovely event to, I think, bring not only our team together, but the current students were kind of integrated with our team today as well. And then it was nice to see all of the friends and families and supporters, and then the other inductees that were there as well. We always know about this legacy of athletic excellence here at Bates, but it was really nice to kind of bring some of those big names in the sport across all the sports together. People who I've heard about in the past, and all of a sudden now they're in the room with me. And so it was a really nice connection with the groups that, I was friends with at Bates back when I was here. But it was also a nice way to kind of bridge some connections with athletes that came in the past and also current athletes who are here as well.
So your team had the distinction of being the first team to win the national title, of course, at Bates. After 3 years for you and many more years before that of Williams, Trinity. What was that like to finally get to the mountaintop?
It was incredible. So I was really lucky when we came in that Bates really had this legacy of phenomenal athletes. And, up until that point, we had pretty consistently finished second year after year after year. And so we couldn't have achieved what we achieved in 2015 without all of the hard work that went in before that point and with those athletes. And so I think at that point, starting in 2015, we had a structure that we knew worked, right? And we knew that we could create really good performances with the structure that we had. And so really what we were trying to find over my 4 years at Bates was that kind of that last little bit to really tip us over the edge to kind of finally get that national championship. And so, yeah, it was truly incredible. But I think it was thanks to all of the hard work from the athletes that came before us that really laid that groundwork for us. So then for us to, finally have the opportunity to then break in as a national champion was incredible. Love
the scoring system they do at NCAAs. It's a little confusing. I think they tried to outline it during the ceremony today, but for clarity for people, you were in the first varsity 8. You didn't know what the second varsity 8 had done. You have no way of knowing that they had won. I mean, they'd won the previous year, so there was a possibility, And so you were disappointed initially, right?
Yeah.
Second place, didn't think you'd won it, and then tell me when you found out.
Yeah, so exactly like you said. So the scoring system for NCAA is a little bit different. They intentionally try and weigh it so that the first varsity 8 counts for slightly more points than the second varsity 8. And the way that the scheduling of the day works for Division III is that the second varsity 8 races while the first varsity 8's still out on the water warming up. So you watch the start of the first varsity 8 and then all of a sudden heads back on the boat in the first varsity 8 and you're focusing on your race and you have no idea how that second varsity 8 did until you cross the finish line. And so at that point we kind of thought the only way we're going to win a national championship is if we as the 1V win our race, because that's the only thing you can focus on in that moment. That's the only thing you can control. The 2V has to race their race and you have to race yours. And so when we crossed the finish line, I think at that point came in second, and we were really hoping for first. And, again, we could control our race, and we really wanted that first place finish. And up until that point, we were kind of slated to win. So we were a bit disappointed. And I remember us saying, okay, it's second again, but, that it's fine. Silver looks good on us. And like, we had a really good run. We had the best performance we could have had on the day. And that's all we can we got to hold our heads high and, be happy with a second. That's a really good performance. And it wasn't until the way the scoring system works, we didn't know that the second varsity had won.
Right.
And then on top of that, we didn't know how the point scoring system works because that's math in and of itself. That's a bit confusing even for people who are in the sport.
Yeah.
So we heard that the second varsity won, and we were of course excited for them, but we still didn't really know how the points system worked out. And I don't even think Coach knew for a little while.
No, he did not.
And so there was it was actually quite beautiful because it was caught on camera. The moment that everyone started to put the pieces together of like, oh, we had just won by like a point. There's videos and there's pictures, and actually it was kind of nice because we were close to the bank, so that was kind of all captured, and we can kind of relive that moment. But it was truly incredible. And I think, again, what made it so special was it was the second varsity that really, carried the points for us that day. And, that was really amazing to be able to celebrate, not only with our own crew, but as the squad as a whole. That was like a whole team victory.
So you're sitting in the boat. Did someone tell you this? Did you realize it first? You're talking to the shore. What are your memory of that?
Yeah, so we kind of pulled up. We were still a little bit offshore, so like we were next to the shore, but we were far enough away we couldn't get out the boat. We were still kind of in the middle of the water.
Right.
And I think one of the parents like held up a number one, and all of a sudden the rest of like the riverbank started like cheering, like louder than we would expect for a second place finish.
Right.
And so I think at that moment we kind of. Like something was different here with the way that people were shouting and cheering and hugging on the riverbank. And I think it was like it kind of went down the boat where like the bow seat figured it out first, and then it just kind of went down the boat and people started, hitting each other in the back. And I think that's when we realized that something big had just happened. But yeah, I think it was the bow seat that figured it out first.
Nice. And then, being up on that podium, I love today, by the way, Coach Steenstra did a selfie with the team because that's like tradition, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he always does. He's been doing that for years with the selfies. Yeah.
What was it like, being up on that podium with your teammates? Because obviously, podium top 4, I think, go up, but you were number 1.
It was different that year, and I think it was just a bit, surreal.
What was that team like? I mean, just personality-wise, I guess.
Yeah, it was this beautiful mix of different athletes, and I think we had athletes represented from like all different majors, all different backgrounds. We had athletes who, we had prior All-Americans on the team, and then we also had people who just learned to row that year, and so it was this really kind of beautiful mix of different personalities, and I think Coach really. And the captains and everyone really developed that squad where, we saw the strengths in all of those different experiences. And so I think it was a squad that worked really hard and that really, I think, saw value in what everybody could bring to the table. And so it was a really strength-based model. And so I think, as individuals, we were good athletes, but I think when you put us all together and we were all kind of looking out and bringing our different strengths to the table, I think as a collective whole, I think that's what made us so fast. And we were definitely faster as the sum of our parts than we were as individuals in that group. Coach
Steenstra, what influence kind of he had on this team?
Yeah, Steenstra's a legend. I mean, he's really great. And he's the thing that he kind of preaches to all of us is that he's here to make good people. And I think that's kind of the basis of everything we do, is that the most important thing that you get out of this program is you learn how to become a better person. You learn how to become a better teammate. You learn how to look after one another. You learn how even the little things of how do you interact with the umpires and the officials and all of that. And so he's really big on just making sure that you're prepared for kind of life outside of rowing. And I think as a result, you end up with a team that really kind of looks after one another, right? If you've got a team that, the main focus is on being good people and being good teammates to one another, all of a sudden it kind of brings everybody together. And then I think the second kind of tidbit that I always brought in for us was a bit of meditative practice. And I think that particularly, in that 2011, 2015 timeframe, that was pretty new in the sport. And I think, we as a team were just so mentally tough because we did so much of that meditative practice and we were so connected to one another, connected to the boat, connected to the environment that we were in, connected to the water, that I think, that gave us a little bit of an extra edge. And so that combination, I think, of us being good people and good teammates and being really connected with what we were doing, I think was the secret sauce that made that year work for us.
One theme about many of our Hall of Famers is they went on to have a post-Bates career in athletics. You did.
Yeah.
You still have. I think you're still competing, right?
I've just retired.
You just retired. Okay, well, we'll talk about that. But tell us about your post-Bates career.
Yeah. So actually, after I finished Bates, I did leave the sport for a little bit. And I went on to medical school, and I went on to Duke Medical School and didn't do any rowing there, and just really focused on my academics, and was going to be, or am going to be, a doctor, a medical doctor. And about halfway through my medical degree, I kind of decided that, at that point, I wasn't quite done with academics and like the academia sort of side of things, but I also wasn't done with rowing. And so Coach actually, I guess back in 2015, put me in contact with the coaches at the University of Cambridge to potentially talk about rowing and doing a postgraduate degree there. And so at that point, I kind of reached out to the coach and I said, hey, actually, like, I'm ready to give this a try. I think the boat race is really cool, and the University of Cambridge in the UK is a really different experience. And I think, a PhD would be really interesting to me. And so at that point, I actually left medical school halfway through, put a little pause on it, went out to the University of Cambridge and did my PhD there. And during my PhD, I had the opportunity to race in the Cambridge-Oxford boat race. So I won the reserve race in 2022, won the blue boat in 2023, and then was president of the winning crew in 2024. And that was just an incredible experience to, like, take my rowing, I think, just the next level, and I think really take what I learned at Bates and kind of that skill set and really elevate it a little bit further. And it was just, that was one of the most transformative experiences of my life. And I think, I was there, to be honest, because of what Bates gave me. I had the academic prowess from Bates to be able to get into Cambridge and exceed at Cambridge academically, but then also I had the rowing connections to really make, I think, that Cambridge experience just incredible.
And you just retired, so
yeah. So my last race was actually at Henley this year in July. I've just finished my PhD. I did my last race on the Saturday of Henley, and then I moved back to the U.S. and I'm actually finishing up my final year of medical school now. So I'm now just kind of rowing casually and for fun, and have left the high performance world.
So back at Duke.
Yes, I'm back at Duke.
Nice. So this is your last year of medical school?
Yeah. So I'll graduate in May with both the MD and the PhD in May.
Nice. So what area are you looking to go into in terms of medicine?
Yeah, so I'm applying into obstetrics and gynecology. So I really like taking care of women. I really like, delivering babies. I really like, just providing comprehensive care for women. So.
Terrific. Well, any other thoughts you wanted to mention about the national champion 2015 rowing team and what it means to have brought home the first team national championship? They've won a few since then, but what does it make to be the first?
Yeah, that was a pretty incredible experience, I think, for all of us, and I think we all look back on it just incredibly fondly. I think that moment is obviously the thing that sticks in all of our minds, but I think it's bigger than that for all of us. And I think for all of us, we went through a journey at Bates Rowing for 4 years. And I think we all grew as people. We all grew as individuals. We all grew as teammates. And, that was really incredible. And I think the thing we often talked about is that crew. And like I alluded to before, like there was a whole legacy of women before us that got us to that moment. And I think it's really important to remember, those individuals and recognize those individuals. Like, yes, today there were 21 of us that were standing up on stage with 2 coaches, but there was an enormous amount of support from the alumni that made that all possible, to the athletes that developed the program the years before, to the coaches and, that group. But then also there was a whole rest of our team that wasn't recognized today on the stage, who were pushing us every single day in training. We were racing side by side with them. We had a novice crew. We had the third varsity 8. So I think, it was amazing to be recognized, all 21 of us. But I think it's really important to highlight, just the hundreds of people that really made that victory on that day possible.
Jenna Armstrong, thank you so much for joining us on the Bobcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Football, women's soccer, men's soccer, and field hockey are all home this Saturday, and you can find the complete schedule of Bates athletics events at GoBatesBobcats.com. And as usual, we'll recap all the action next week on the Bates Bobcast.